Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast. My name is Claudia Holy and I am here with Hannah Shepley. Hannah, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Excellent. So today, are you wondering what AI can bring to medical device marketing? Are you thinking there's so many different tools out there? What can I actually use it for? Can I use it for content writing? Can I not use it for content writing? We're going to talk about everything to do with that during this podcast today. So we've been spending an awful lot of time looking at what you can and can't do with AI from an article writing perspective. And in fact, just to introduce Hannah a little bit more, Hannah has been leading our AI group within Podymos. So is definitely very well placed to talk about everything to do with AI. But it's been a great journey and really exciting. So we're really keen and pleased to share this with you today so that you can hopefully come along the AI journey with us. But I think there's an awful lot for everybody to learn along this journey. So let's start, first of all. There's a lot of different types of AI out there at the moment. So Hannah, what is AI-based text generation?
So text generation is sort of what it says on the tin, but it's the process where AI produces the text, but it resembles sort of natural human language. So it's kind of not computer code. It's you read it and you understand it. It's written, and in the beginning, often we couldn't recognize that it was written by AI. So that's kind of AI, sort of the text generation. And people are using it to write things and copy for different platforms like social media posts, all the way through to blog articles to kind of full scale websites. And what happens is you give it a prompt, you ask, say, ChatGPT for something, and it scours the internet and it comes up with its best possible answer. So you could use other tools. There's lots of tools out there. I mean, there's thousands of tools out there, and that can be one of the challenges. But ChatGPT, Bard, Jasper, and you can write an article on any topic of your choosing, which is really, really appealing and enticing, and something that might have taken hours and hours before. Seemingly, you put a prompt in and you get 1,000 words or 500 words back, and you go, well, that was easy. So is that it? Are we, is that job done on article writing? And I guess that's what we're here to discuss today, to share our experience with that so far.
And I reckon actually a lot of people who are listening to this would have tried exactly that too, and would have seen probably a lot of the shortfalls and a lot of the really great things that we've seen as well, because there's definitely on both sides, like ChatGPT, and we're primarily, just for the information of people out there, we're primarily using ChatGPT at Podymos at the moment for what we're doing. And that's just because of the prompting that we can use and things like that. But we have also looked at a lot of other softwares as well. But we're not, we can talk about that a little bit later. But so when you're looking at text generative AI, what are the major benefits that you see for marketing people at the moment? What are the major benefits that you see?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of them, and I think speed is a big one, and kind of like that faster content creation, and that kind of goes down several different routes. So whether it's a speed of understanding the topic at all, because I think, when we talk about writing an article, you often start with actually mapping out what you want to talk about, and AI can be great for aiding your understanding of that topic. So you could ask, ChatGPT to, outline a draft article covering all the major themes on X, and that could give you a really good overview of where to go. You can then use it to take it from that stage all the way up to the article, or whether it would be a website, exactly the same process of taking that sort of understanding to the bare bones of the article to the main article itself. So it's great for that. It's great for kind of different languages. So ChatGPT can create content in 50 different languages or over 50 different languages.
That's amazing.
And the accuracy of that will be far superior than copying and pasting different bits of text into Google Translate. Although, that's probably quite good compared to like my French, for instance. But, again, it's that speed and that context. So what generative AI do is really kind of take that perception of things. So that text that you get back, say in Italian, will have that kind of Italian tone and that flow, whereas our rudimentary translations are very, very direct, from one word to another, and we don't get that context. It's great for spelling and grammar. I think, Grammarly is the
Brilliant
one
for
that we
that.
all talk about.
Yeah.
And that's a tool that we used back in the day. That's not something since this explosion since last year of AI, but that is an AI tool. And that checks for sort of spelling and grammar and patterns within your language. And it doesn't just suggest, you know, alternative spellings. It will reword things for conciseness. So you can put tone in there. So actually, that type of AI really turns something that you've done and kind of takes all of those little human errors out. And often that suggestion of another way of writing, you go, yeah, why didn't I think of that? And it's because our brains work in a way that we write in our style. But I guess we'll talk about that in a sec. Actually, your tone and your style is really important, but we'll touch on that. And the other one that's really, I think, really exciting is sort of like the SEO and like keyword optimization. So the practice of like
Yes.
keyword selection prior to AI was quite laborious. And now actually you can ask in the same session on ChatGPT to pull out all the keywords, rank them and all of that sort of stuff, and then insert them back into the article, which means that you're not just sort of stuffing them here, there and everywhere. It's going in the right flow of the language in an appropriate time. So
And
there's
you can add
lots of
all
exciting.
associated keywords in and things like that as well. So
Exactly.
actually, and you don't have to, as you say, go and do it manually yourself. You can say to ChatGPT, this is my primary keyword and these are my secondary keywords, and please add in associated words as well, and it will come back.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that the other one that we haven't touched on is taking your own work and tightening it. Because again, I think we all write in the way, our own style, but it can be quite loose. There is often a better way of saying things. So I think we've had real success in, researching and writing and then asking ChatGPT to, spelling and grammar, can you tighten this sentence? Is there an alternative way that we should be saying this? Is there anything we haven't considered in this topic? And, I think it's not just about shortcuts. I think a lot of people go, AI shortcut, don't have to do the article itself, but actually
Yeah.
you can use it at different stages in the process for benefits. At the end, it's great for going, have I covered everything? Is this written in the right way? Does it flow? Like, which should my H1 headings be? Like all
Yeah.
of, H2, all of that sort of stuff is grateful.
Yeah. I think that's I think the really interesting thing that we're doing a lot more of is actually checking our own work,
Yeah,
and making ChatGPT getting ChatGPT to help us think about things differently.
yeah,
Because I think there's a lot of negatives with ChatGPT and actually all the AI at the moment. I think we're noticing, particularly within Podymos, just from everything, because we're doing so much with AI at the moment from an internal perspective, in the sense of understanding it, getting used to it, seeing what it does. We can very quickly see externally what material has been written with ChatGPT. And I think that's a real risk in the future, because actually, if people, and we'll get onto these risks, but I think, if people do use it as a shortcut, as you said, really isn't about a shortcut. This is about efficiency. It's not necessarily a shortcut. If you do use it as a shortcut, you risk putting content out of this. Again, you'll talk about this, but you risk putting content out there that, potentially isn't quite right from tone and stuff like that, but it's really obvious that you haven't written it.
yeah.
And actually, what does that do to your trust and your credibility as a company as well? So I think, when you talk about shortcuts, that's a really important point. It's more about, we've certainly found it's been really helpful just to challenge ourselves in how we think about things and writing things better, because its grammar and syntax are fantastic.
Yeah. And I
So
think, I kind of look at the way AI has kind of exploded into our lives. And it's a bit like the explosion the internet created and the way that we research. We all used to have to use textbooks in the library, written form
yeah,
and long form content to get the information. And suddenly we got, search engines like Google and everything was there at a drop of a hat. But you don't trust every single article or page or piece of information you read on Google. We've got used to now viewing it and going, is this credible? Is this real? And I feel AI will be kind of the next step in that journey. At the moment, everyone goes, this is fantastic. But
yeah,
actually, it's using your kind of human perception, understanding of the topic and all of that sort of stuff to really challenge it to go, you've challenged my understanding of this topic. is that the right thing? Do you know what I mean? Is it right? So
Mm,
I think we'll all get quite savvy to it.
I think
And
so. And
you
you'll start seeing
mentioned,
it really quickly.
well, exactly. And we spoke
Yeah.
about this morning in a team meeting about,
Yeah.
like language that comes from it. And, ChatGPT strives and thrives and, emphasizes and all of these
Yes.
words that could be spelt with a Z. And as soon as you see any word that's spelt with a Z, you go, well, that person hasn't written it.
Or title case titles. That's the other
Yeah.
big one that we see. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Excellent. So those are some of the problems that so looking at it in both ways. There's obviously good positives
Yeah.
to ChatGPT, huge positives, huge positives. There's also big negatives
Yeah.
to AI, text AI, ChatGPT. We're not putting out ChatGPT over any of the others here. We're just saying those are the ones we've worked with at the moment. So that's where our examples come from more so than others. So what would you say are the main problems with AI, sort of text generative AI at the moment when it comes to article writing? And what do we need to be aware of not to fall into those challenges?
I think the big one for me out of anything is inaccurate information.
Mm,
I think I mean, there's lots of different challenges that I kind of touch on in a moment, but in terms of like brand credibility and and authenticity and all of that sort of stuff, it really doesn't take long to break trust. So
mm,
you are positioning yourself with your piece of content as maybe a thought leader or an independent source or a, a leader in your kind of sector. And as soon as someone reads that and goes, well, that's just not true, you've lost the whole of just that article, but also other pieces of content that you may have researched for hours and hours on end. So inaccurate information breaks trust, but also we're working in medical device. It's actually really dangerous to have
mm.
inaccurate information. We speak to patients, we speak to HCPs, we speak to other groups, and they take the information that they read. As a patient could go online and ask for information about a condition that they've got, and the piece of content that you've written answers that. But what if
Mm.
it tells them to do something that actually is completely against
Well,
accurate kind of
hopefully
process?
that wouldn't get through your regulatory
Hopefully it
team,
wouldn't.
but it wouldn't make you look great either were
No.
you to submit that piece of content. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you stop that from happening? Like how do we work around this problem? Because ChatGPT is great for finding information up front, doing your research, but as you
Yeah.
say, you have to make sure it's factually correct. So how do you actually, how do we do that?
So I think the way we've been working is using it to educate ourselves on a topic, which gives us a great starting point to read.
Mm,
We will then do our own research. So taking say the example of creating a content blog, I may go and say, right, teach me everything there needs to know about, and then I can start researching on Google. I can go into clinical papers. I can start
yeah,
thoroughly exploring the topic and go, right, these are the key bits that I then need to pull out. And then I may go back to an AI software and go, right, I need to talk about, I need to understand X, a
mm,
small section of this. And again, it aids that knowledge, that development, challenges your understanding and knowledge. Then you can go back to research. So it's although it speeds up efficiencies, I wouldn't say that it's a shortcut and quick, because you have to
yeah,
always check. Once you've got your content block and you've referenced it and everything like that, actually, this is where it's quite exciting with AI, because you can then add your section of your content block and ask it to, rewrite it for the correct audience.
yeah,
But here then comes in another challenge. If you put that
yeah,
in, you then get something that's pretty tone deaf, like not in your own written word, with thrives and strives and title cases everywhere. And it's all just, you look at it and go, well, I've just done all of that work. This, clearly this is written by AI,
AI,
and it's not, it's not right. So we're doing a lot of work with kind of like tone of voice, and actually,
mm.
the longer the prompt with the more detail that we give it, the better the outcome of
I
the
think
answer.
I think it'd be interesting, and it's yes, and everything we do has a
Mm,
whole different ginormous prompt. Like
yeah.
they're not short little prompts. Like some of our prompts, just to put context to this, are sort of 2 to 3 A4 pages.
Mm,
Like they can be quite significant prompts. And we talk about that in our internal articles because, this is really where we're testing AI at the moment because we can, because it's, our work. But it's a lot of information that goes into doing that.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And you have to, all of the considerations that you would normally take when you're writing an article that you sort of know by kind of just by feel from working with your
mm,
own brand or whatever. You have to make sure everything is there. So we talk
yeah,
about everything from like punctuation to lexicons to band jargon to
yeah,
keywords, like anything that you can possibly think of. We add to a style guide, which means that these prompts that we're giving AI, as Claudia said, 2 or 3 pages long at times,
yeah,
really, really niche. But that's not a quick process, and actually, that's a bit of a limitation of it. That
yeah.
everyone thinks it's this quick win, but it's not. It's a new process. It's a new way of working.
And I'm sure, as you know, as we hear whenever we follow people who are doing an awful lot with AI as well, this is the worst form of AI we will ever
Yeah,
have. So, and I know we were talking about this in our meeting this morning. It's like AI is only going to get better. So, if today we have 3 pages of a prompt, in the future that might be 2 lines. So it's all moving in a different direction. It's just where we are now with the worst version of AI we're ever going to have, which is going
yeah.
to get better so fast.
Yeah, and I think it's something you said earlier, actually just keeping up with the learning on this because you
Yes.
then will evolve as the technology evolves, which means that
Yeah.
you can make the most of it rather than trying to catch up
Yeah.
as it develops.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other one we were talking about in terms of limitations was long form content. So if we're talking about can an article be written for me, we're finding that after about sort of 500-600 words, the article
Mm.
gets a bit ropey or won't even respond back, and that's because these text-based generative AIs have limits on kind of characters and things like that they output. So at the moment we're having to take individual content blocks and put them in to get them rewritten.
Yeah.
Again, that's quite a time-consuming process. So it's not a perfect system, but I think it's kind of weighing up the positives and
Yeah.
negatives depending on what you're writing.
And it's exciting. It's really exciting. So from our
Yeah,
internal content again, because I think that's all we can talk about at the moment, where we're using AI. It used to take us probably to write an article, do the interview, write the article, because this is obviously our internal process. We do an interview, subject matter expert, write the article, and then it goes through all our review periods. Probably that used to take in total, with everybody included, probably 6 to 7 hours, maybe even slightly longer, depending on what the topic was. Now it takes us about 3.5 hours.
yeah,
Now that's still 3.5 hours. It's not just adding something into, a text generative AI and it coming out, but it has made a significant efficiency.
yeah,
But it's taken us quite a long time to get there. So it's a really exciting space. What it can do for you,
yeah,
totally, it's very, very exciting.
yeah. Absolutely, I agree with that, and I think
Yeah,
it's constantly thinking about the application, but also the limitation. Like where can it go wrong, and challenging those bits in the process. And that to me
yeah,
makes me much more comfortable when I'm using it to go right. What's the problem? Like always, because
yeah.
nothing's perfect, is it? And it's trying to catch all these things as you go.
Mm. No,
Uh,
excellent. So, what would be? I think we've pretty much covered everything around AI for text. But so if I ask you the one killer question at the end, Hannah, can AI write you an article?
it depends.
It's so true.
I think yes, it can. Is it good enough to publish? Probably not.
But with human
But
input at the end, it
absolutely.
probably is, and the right prompting all the way through. Excellent. So thank you all for listening to today's episode. We're actually launching a LinkedIn AI group in the not too distant future. And that's because everything in AI is working so quickly at the moment. So we want to set up a group on LinkedIn where everybody can learn together. I think before me and Hannah came on this podcast, probably about a month ago, we thought AI really couldn't write an article for you. Now we're quite certain it can with these other limitations. So if you're interested in learning more about AI, make sure you stay tuned, and we will be publishing it on our LinkedIn profile so that you can join and keep up to speed with AI. Thank you very much for listening, and have a fantastic day.